Anchorage in orthodontics. Introduction. The term anchorage is used to denote resistance to force. Force is generated by orthodontic appliances. According to Newton's third law of motion, for every action, there is equal and opposite reaction. The forces used to move the teeth may induce an equal and opposite forces on the anchorage unit, tending to cause the movement which is not desirable. So now let's take an example. For example, if fourth tooth is to be the extraction space, then the posterior teeth, that is fifth, sixth and seventh teeth, will act as a pull force for anterior retraction, and it will cause mesial movement of 5, 6 and 7, while the first, second and third teeth will apply equal and opposite reactionary forces. The forces applied to the molars when they retract 1, 2 and 3. Definition of anchorage in orthodontics. According to Graeber, the nature and degree of resistance to displacement offered by an anatomical unit for purpose of effecting tooth movement. According to White and Gardiner, an anchorage is site of delivery from which a force is exerted. Classification of anchorage can be according to site, according to the jaw involved, according to manner of force, and according to number of units. According to site, it can be intraoral or extraoral. According to jaw involved, it can be intramaxillary and intermaxillary. According to manner of force, it can be simple, stationary, and reciprocal. And according to number of units, it can be single, compound, and reinforced. Anchorage classified according to manner of force application as first simple anchorage, second stationary anchorage, third reciprocal anchorage. Anchorage classified according to the jaw involved, intermaxillary and intramaxillary. Anchorage classified according to the site where anchorage unit act as intraoral, extraoral or muscular. Anchorage classified according to number of anchorage unit as single, compound, reinforced. White and Gardiner classified anchorage into 6 categories as first simple, second stationary, third reciprocal, fourth reinforced, fifth intermaxillary, and sixth extraoral. Types of anchorage. First, intraoral anchorage, which includes simple anchorage, compound anchorage. Simple anchorage is defined as manner and application of force is such that it tends to change the axial inclination of the tooth, while compound anchorage is it provides for the use of more teeth with greater anchorage potential to move a tooth, a group of teeth with lesser anchorage support. Third will be reciprocal tooth movement. When two teeth or two sets of teeth move in equal and opposite direction, it is called as reciprocal tooth movement. In a reciprocal situation, the forces applied to the teeth and to the arch segment are equal, and so is the force distribution in the PDL. A simple example is what would occur if two maxillary central incisors separated by a diastema. Crossbite elastic was used to move the upper molar buccally and lower molar lingually. Maxillary expansion screw was used to move the upper molar buccally. As per the site of anchorage, it can be intraoral and extraoral. Intraoral can be defined as anchorage units that are present within the oral cavity, as you can see in the diagram, and extraoral can be defined as anchorage units that are situated outside the oral cavity. What is stationary anchorage? Manner and application of force tends to displace the anchorage unit bodily. Displacement anchor teeth can be minimized by arranging the force system so that the anchor teeth must move bodily if they move at all, while movement teeth are allowed to tip, as in the example of retracting incisors, by tipping them posteriorly. This approach is called as stationary anchorage. In this example, as you can see in the diagram, treatment is not complete because the roots of the lingually tipped incisors will have to be upright at the later stage. But two-stage treatment with tipping followed by uprighting can be used as a means of controlling anchorage. Distributing the force over a larger PDL area of the anchor teeth reduces pressure. What is reinforced anchorage? Here, the anchorage units are reinforced by the use of more than one type of resistance units. For example, the use of headgears along with routine fixed mechanotherapy or extraoral anchorage or intra-arch compound anchorage or use of transpalatal arch in fixed mechanotherapy or simply the banding of second molar for retraction of the permanent canine. As you can see in the figure, Reinforcement of anchorage can be produced by adding additional teeth within the same arch to the anchor unit or by using elastics from the opposite arch to help produce desired tooth movement, as with the inter-arch elastic as it is shown here. Additional reinforcement can be obtained with extraoral forces as with addition of a face bow to the upper molar to resist the forward pull of the elastics. Now coming to muscular anchorage, the perioral musculature is not very strong but also resilient. The forces generated by musculature can sometimes be used to bring about tooth movement. The lip bumper appliance may be used to distalize the mandibular first molar or transpalatal arch when kept away from the palate, may cause the intrusion of teeth to which it is attached, that is the maxillary first molar. What is intermaxillary anchorage? When the anchorage units situated in one jaw are used to provide the force required to move teeth in opposite jaw, the anchorage is called as intermaxillary anchorage. This type of anchorage is also termed as Baker's anchorage. For example, when class 2 elastics are used to retract the maxillary anteriors, the anchorage units are situated in the mandibular arch. Intermaxillary anchorage can also be further subdivided into three subtypes depending upon the manner of force application, which can be simple, stationary, and reciprocal. When the anchorage units are situated within the same jaw, it is called as intramaxillary anchorage. Coming to extraoral anchorage, as the name implies, here the anchorage units are situated outside the oral cavity or present extraorally. The extraoral structures most frequently used at the cervical region, as with the use of cervical pull headgear, the occiput region, as with the occipital pull headgear, the forehead and the chin, example the face mask with the use of extraoral anchorage. The anchorage units are situated far away from the actual site where the movement is taking place, hence there is hardly any chance of any changes taking place in the anchorage units. The biggest disadvantage of extraoral anchorage is the apparent lack of patient cooperation. The anchorage assembly is bulky and externally visible, making the patients very uncomfortable. As you can see in the table, extraoral traction and anchorage. The purpose of extraoral anchorage is reinforcement of anchorage. The force required is 200 to 250 grams and they need to wear it for 10 to 12 hours. High pull headgear to the first molar attachment. It is used to produce bodily movement of the molars, hence not causing any tipping movement. The line of force, which is shown in the figure by black arrow, must pass through the center of resistance of the molar tooth. This will produce both backward and upward movement of the molar. While in cervical headgear or neck strap, which is attached to the first molar, again bodily movement is produced by an outer bow length and it is positioned that it places the line of force through the center of resistance of the molar, but with a lower direction of pull, the tooth is extruded as well as moved backward. The cervical or low pull headgear obtains anchorage from the nape of the neck and it affects the extrusion of maxillary molars, increase in lower facial height, move maxilla indentation distally, indicated in patient with low mandibular angle. And cranial and high pull headgear derives the anchorage from back of the head. It produces a distal and superior directed forces on the maxilla and the teeth. It is attached to the molar tubes and it's pulled up and back related to the occlusal plane. It leads to intrusive and posterior direction of pull due to position of head cap. The occipital or straight pull headgear uses anchorage augmentation, orthopedic effect, molar distalization, molar rotation, space maintenance, and it has advantage of pure posterior translatory forces, stabilizes mandibular arch, and gives anchorage during class 2 and maxillary anterior retraction. Sources of anchorage. Anchorage can be obtained from intraoral and extraoral sources, and we should not forget the possibility of favorable growth and question of our ability to enhance it. It is the sensible way to firstly summarize the possibility to maximize the intraoral anchorage. Sources of intraoral anchorage are root surface area, bony cortex. In spite of widespread hope that this may prove source of anchorage, there seems little evidence that this is indeed the case. It is clearly not difficult to move teeth labially right through the cortex. Rebelletto et al. 1997 found that lingual arches did not prevent mesial migration of molars even when no intra-arch traction was applied. A study by Ellen Schneider and Selk in 1998 found no enhancement of vertical or horizontal anchorage when using utility arches to set up cortical anchorage. Those papers would also suggest that palatal arches would not be expected to add to posterior anchorage. Next will be mucosa and underlying bone. This is the source of anchorage which is sought with Nance button, removable appliances, and lingual flanges and functional appliances. It is hard to measure, but appliance which covers a larger area of mucosa will be expected to provide additional anchorage. Next is occlusal interferences. Some extraction patterns, that is upper first and lower second premolars, can create useful interlocking of the dentition and increase the root surface area, resisting a loss of upper arch posterior anchorage. Conversely, upper canines stuck mesial to lower canines can lose upper arch anchorage as attempted reduction of an overjet in presence of complete overbite. Implants, these are powerful source of intraoral anchorages. Maximizing root surface area. Although far from proven, there seems strong indirect evidence that the differential force theory has substance. That is, that within limits, the rate of tooth movement is related to the applied force per unit root surface area. For example, the study of Sellens and D. Smith in 1998 showed a greater mesial movement of molars and a lesser amount of anterior crowding resolved when second premolars rather than first premolar were extracted. In addition to choosing more anterior extractions, root surface area is the anchorage unit that can be increased by either including second molars, separate the retraction of canines, correcting center lines one tooth at a time, or semi-transverse forces are applied, that is, pushing rather than pulling canines distally. Practical consideration may lessen the applicability and effectiveness of any of these in a given situation, but they are all useful sources of anchorage. Mechanical aspects of anchorage control. When teeth slide along the arch wire, forces is needed for two purposes. First, to overcome frictional resistance, and second, to create the bone remodeling needed for tooth movement. Controlling the position of anchor teeth is accomplished best by minimizing the reaction force that reaches them. Use of unnecessarily heavy forces to move teeth creates problem in controlling anchorage. Unfortunately, anchor teeth usually feel the reaction to both frictional resistance and tooth movement forces. So controlling and minimizing friction is an important aspect of anchorage control. Factors affecting the anchorage. First will be teeth. Teeth by themselves resist movement. Forces can be exerted from one set of teeth to move certain other teeth. The anchorage potential of teeth depends upon number of factors including the root form, the size of roots, the number of roots, the position of teeth, the axial inclination of teeth, their intercuspation, etc. Coming to root form, the root form to a large extent is responsible for degree of anchorage provided by a tooth. The root in cross section can either be round, flat, mesodistally, or triangular as shown in the figure. The distribution of periodontal fibers on the root surface aids in anchorage. The more the fibers, the better will be the anchorage potential. The direction of attachment of fibers also affect the anchorage offered by a tooth. Round roots have only half their periodontal fibers stretched in a given direction, hence offer the least anchorage. Mesodistally flat roots are able to resist mesodistal movement better as compared to labiolingual movements, as more number of fibers are activated on the flatter surfaces as compared to relatively narrower labial or lingual surfaces. Triangular roots, like those of the canines, are able to provide greater anchorage. Their flatness adds to resistance. The tripod arrangement of roots that is seen on maxillary molars also aids in increasing the anchorage. The round palatal root resists extrusion and two flat buccal roots resist intrusion and the mesodistal stresses. Under clinical situations where the buccal tube is bonded, welded on the buccal aspect of the teeth, they show a tendency to roll mesially, the crown rotating mesopalatally under mesially directed forces. As shown in the figure, mesopalatal rotation of maxillary first molar. Next factor would be size of the roots. The larger or longer the root, the more is their anchorage potential. The maxillary canines, because of their long roots, can at times be most difficult teeth to move in certain clinical circumstances. Next will be number of roots. The greater the surface area, the greater the periodontal support and hence greater the anchorage potential. Multi-rooted teeth provide greater anchorage as compared to single-rooted teeth with similar root length. Position of tooth. Sometimes the position of teeth in an individual arches also helps in increasing their anchorage potential. As in the case of mandibular second premolars, which are placed between two ridges, the mylohyoid and external oblique ridge, they provide an increased resistance to the mesial movement. Axial inclination, when the teeth is inclined in opposite direction to that of the force applied, it provides greater resistance or anchorage. Root formation. Teeth with incomplete root formation are easier to move and are able to provide less anchorage. Coming to contact points, teeth with intact contact points and broad contact points provide greater anchorage. Next will be intercuspation. Good intercuspation leads to greater anchorage potential. This is mainly because the teeth in one jaw are prevented from moving because of the contact with that of the opposing jaw. This is especially true when the teeth are in the posterior segment, which also shows the presence of adhesion factors. Next factor is basal bone. Certain areas of basal bone like that of the hard palate and lingual surface of the mandible in the anterior region can be used to augment the anchorage. The Nance palatal button is one such appliance that makes use of hard palate to provide resistance to the mesial movement of the maxillary molars. As you can see in the figure, the palatal bolt can be used for removable or fixed appliances. Nance button is shown there. Cortical bone. Ricketts floated the idea of using cortical bone for anchorage, the contention being that the cortical bone is denser with decreased blood supply and bone turnover rate. Hence, if certain teeth were torqued to come in contact with the cortical bone, they would have a greater anchorage potential. The idea as such remains controversial as the tooth roots show resorption in such conditions and the risk of non-vitality of such teeth is also more. As you can see in the figure, a shallow palatal wall provides less anchorage, and a steep anterior palatal vault is useful source of anchorage due to buttressing effect. Musculature. Under normal circumstances, the perioral musculature plays an important part in growth and development of the dental arches. Hypertonicity of the perioral musculature might lead to spacing and flaring of anterior teeth. The hypertonicity of same muscles have reverse effect. Lip bumper is an appliance that makes use of tonicity of the lip musculature and enhances the anchorage potential of mandibular molars, preventing their mesial movement musculature, and enhances the anchorage potential of mandibular molars, preventing their mesial movement. What is loss of anchorage? This is defined as the unplanned and unexpected movement of anchor teeth during orthodontic treatment. There are several causes of loss of anchorage. Some example might be poor appliance design, poor appliance adjustment, poor patient wear. Poor appliance design. Failure to adequately retain the appliance or incorporate as many teeth into the anchor block as possible are common causes of anchorage loss. If fixed appliances are used, many anchor teeth are possible as possible should be banded in order to produce optimum anchorage. Removable appliances should have adequate retention using appropriate well-adjusted grips or a clasp with as much contact with teeth and oral mucosa as possible. Poor appliance adjustment. The use of excessive force or trying to move too many teeth at the same time may result in unwanted movement of the anchor teeth. To avoid loss of anchorage, simultaneous multiple teeth movement should be avoided. If the appliance is poorly adjusted so that it doesn't fit very well or the force levels applied to the teeth are too high, then undesired tooth movement may occur. High force level produced by overactivation are one of the key reasons for anchorage loss. The optimal force for movement of a single rooted teeth is about 25 to 40 grams for tipping and about 75 grams for bodily movement. If the force is too low, there will be very little movement, whereas too much force may result in loss of anchorage. Excess force do not increase the rate of tooth retraction. As the force level rise, the rate of tooth tipping also increases up to about 40 gram. Beyond this, very little extra tooth movement occurs. Thus, increasing the force level above 40 gram will not increase the rate of tooth tipping. As we can see in the figure, the rate of canine retraction per month is shown. The graph shows how increased force levels do not necessarily increase the rate of tooth movement. The y-axis shows the rate of movement in mm and x-axis is amount of tipping force applied to the tooth. As the force level initially rises, the rate of tooth movement also increases. Above about 40 gram, the rate slows down and very little additional tooth movement occurs. There will, however, be a greater risk of loss of anchorage with increase of force level. What is absolute anchorage? Mini implant anchorage is excellent for adjunctive tooth movement and mass retraction, molar distalization, and molar intrusion or extrusion. Complications may include tooth injury from inadequate interradicular space, vessel injury and sinus injury, soft tissue inflammation around the screw if bad oral hygiene is there. Screw may break during insertion or removal, and uncomfortable to the patient if placed in lingual aspect of the tooth. As you can see in first figure, the transpalatal arch is connected to the molars and it acts as an anchorage to move anterior teeth posteriorly without loss of molar anchorage. And as we can see in the second figure, the transpalatal arch is bonded to the premolar to distalize the maxillary molars with nickel titanium coil spring on the sectional arch wires. And second and third figure shows stabilization of the distalized second molar with transpalatal arch, retraction of first molar to complete anterior alignment. The first figure shows Akenbone implants placed on the paramedian area of the palate in growing patient to avoid midline suture. Second one shows mini implant supports the distal jet after placement, and third one bilateral distalization of the molars without loss of anterior anchorage occurs. Tweed's anchorage preparation, given by Dr. Charles Tweed, he found that anchorage to be stable when inclination of lower molars are at right angle to the forces acting over it as they resist forward displacement between upper and lower apical bases. He divided it into three parts: first degree, second degree, and third degree preparations. Anchorage value. When force applied, it is possible to identify which teeth has to be moved, active component applying forces, anchorage resisting opposing forces. The basic determinants of anchorage values are: first, force magnitude which has to be resisted; second, pressure distribution to the periodontal ligaments; third, root morphology; fourth, space available; and fifth, neighboring structure. Anchorage management. Increasing the anchorage value makes the anchor teeth more resistant to force applied. Various methods are: first, incorporate as many teeth as possible; second, use of anchor bends; third, reinforce intraoral with extraoral anchorage; fourth, use of Nance palatal or lingual arch; fifth, use of intermaxillary forces; sixth, use of lip bumper. What is anchorage planning? It is mainly dependent on the anchorage demand, which depends on: first, number of teeth to be moved; second, type of teeth being moved; third, type of teeth movement; and fourth, duration of tooth movement.